Okay, so quick recap, and then we'll move forward. We started Likutey Moharan Torah 29. It's amazing Torah. We've been discussing a lot of very deep, important things, very practical things. So we'll do a quick recap, and then we'll move forward tonight. Bezrat HaShem, we'll finish the Torah. Chodesh Torah, everybody. Bezrat HaShem, we have a lot of spiritual light. Tonight, Kislev, Hanukkah, 8 crazy nights.
Jelly donuts.
Yeah, jelly donuts, all good things. Okay. So like this. Rav Nachman says that not all speech is called speech. So we discussed, what does that mean? That when your speech is not answered by the person you're speaking to, when your speech is not responded to when you're talking to yourself, when your speech is not responded to when you're talking to HaShem and you don't get an answer, so it's because you're not really speaking, you're talking. So what makes speech speech? How do I get the quality of speech so that people respond? So the answer is the good that's in the speech is what allows your prayers and your comments to be answered and responded to. Meaning when there's good in them, they're responded to. Because the good attracts everyone and everything, including Hashem. So what's the good that's attracting everybody? It's called da'at. Knowledge. Okay? Or God consciousness for the New Age people. So we learn that all of the good in the world is da'at. It said that Hashem created light, and the rabbis, the sages teach that there's no light except for Torah, and there's no good except for Torah. So it's all one concept. Da'at is the good, it's Torah, good. So the more Torah or truth you're able to draw into your speech, the more that it's responded to, because the truth is the good.
Mixing Torah in your speech.
Yeah, somehow bringing down this da'at into your speech. You're going to see it's not as simple as, let's say, learning and speaking. There's something in between, which is the gateway, meaning that brings the two together. And if you have a blemish in that area, then the truth can't come down to the speech, no matter how much truth you're learning. Okay. So we said, how does one draw da'at down? Not how does it get all the way into my speech, but how do I arouse my da'at? So we said through Shevach Tzaddikim, through praise of Tzaddikim. That when you praise Tzaddikim, let's say you leave this class, your friends ask you, how was the class? You're like, wow, it was amazing, Rav Nachman taught this. This is like transforming my life, this is really helping me, you should come to the class also. So somehow by doing this is a spiritual mechanism, and it causes your own da'at, or your own godly soul to be aroused, and this draws down God consciousness to you.
When you bring people to the lecture.
It's not the bringing people to lecture necessarily. It's the praise of the tzaddik, and we learn this actually from how we pray to Hashem. That prior to asking Hashem for anything, we first praise Him. Now we think simply it's because it's just respectful that you're thanking Him before you ask, right? But the deeper reason is that by acknowledging Him and thanking Him, that draws down da'at. And now when you ask, it gets answered because you just praised Him. Because now the da'at is in your speech. It's a deep thing. That's why we say hodu before we start praying every morning. Because the hodu is the thanks, right? We're going to see that Shema Yisrael is da'at, right? That is from the Torah. That's actual pasukim from the Torah, Shema. So that's the quintessential da'at. That's the epitome of da'at. And then what do we do after we have da'at with the Shema? We say the Amidah. I'm going to say that very quickly again because it's a very important point. We're saying that in order to have speech, which is when there's a response, there's an answer, you need to have da'at. Once you have da'at and it's drawn down into your speech, you can be responded to. So I was explaining that this is actually the entire setup of the tefillah, both in the morning, the afternoon, and the night, is just like this. Where do you see it most specifically in the morning? Pesuki de Zimra is all thank you to Hashem. It's all Shevach Tzaddikim. It's all praise the tzaddik, because Rav Nachman says that Hashem is the tzaddik of the world. Then after that we say Shema Yisrael. And what is Shema Yisrael? Echad, that Hashem is one. That is da'at. The whole concept of da'at is that everything is Hashem, right? People think Torah knowledge at its apex is like learning all of the pasukim inside. But the essence of Torah is oneness. The essence of the truth is oneness. So the more that you are drawing down unity into your life, both within your mind, both within your heart, in your family, so then you're bringing God into your life. Right? If you're learning Torah, but then when things happen outside in your life, you're not saying this is from Hashem, so you're not getting unity from the Torah. Something's not clicking. Because what's supposed to be coming is that everything in your life becomes one. Oh, my wife rebuking me is really Hashem. Oh, my kid in trouble is really Hashem. Right? Like all of these things are really God. That's called da'at. And Rav Arush, he pointed this out when he came last year to Queens, or 5 towns, wherever it was. And he said when we ask for da'at in the Amidah, we say me'itecha. From you, you give chokhmah bina da'at. So he says don't read it comes from you. Read it that from you, that's the da'at. That everything is from you. That's chokhmah bina da'at. That everything is coming from you. So Shema Yisrael, that's the ultimate form of da'at. And then what do we do right after we do that? You have to go right from the end of Shema specifically into the Amidah, and there can't be a break in between. And what is the Amidah? You're praying for what you need. So what allows your prayers to get answered? The Shema you said before, because that's the da'at, that's the good. But how do you get the da'at, the Shema? You get it from the Pazukah de Zimra, the thanks that you do before that. It's all a build-up. It's all, right? It's amazing. And that's the reason why there can't be a break between Shema, Ga'al Yisrael, and walking into the tefillah, because then there's not da'at in your speech. It's worth it just for that, right? You're like, nah, I want more. Okay. Okay, good. But then we said there is a big factor which interferes with this whole process, which are your clothes. Rav Nachman says you need to be very makpid, very careful, that you have no stains or spots in your clothes.
Or tears.
So we added tears because it seemed to fit, but looking back at the lesson, I think he really just specifically means stains and...
Did he say tears?
Yeah, tears. Stains and spots. Because we learn that just like your wife is malchut, meaning she's the feminine aspect of spirituality, and your wife judges you, right? She's constantly supposed to be rebuking you if you have a good wife. So I'm serious. How does she do... Why is she doing that? Because she's your malchut. So her job is to help you rectify. How does the kingdom help society? The kingdom helps society by putting down mandates and judgments and edicts to the society. And through that, there's self-improvement, and then we keep elevating and moving up. That's your wife's job for you. She's your malchut. Okay? Now I know this goes counterculture to the Bukharian, like the whole thing, right? But the truth is that you learn those from Muslims. Okay? We need to shift back to HaShem, right? Where he teaches us that to be a man is to look at getting rebuked by your wife or an issue with your wife as this is a chance for me for self-improvement, and it's not a reflection of my wife's faults, it's a reflection of mine, and I have to figure out how that is. Okay? So we said that, do we have a physical entity which is like a wife that we're constantly with? Yes, your clothes. So if Nachman says your clothes serve the same function as your wife. And therefore, if your wife or your clothes have stains... Yeah?
What stain can your wife have?
So we're going to talk in a second. When your clothes have a stain, so then your clothes themselves judge you. That's what the Zohar says. Your clothes judge you. Literally. They're like, Rabbi, you're killing me, bro. Clean your shirt. What is the deeper meaning of this?
Sweat stains, does that count too?
No. Yeah. Let me see.
It's representing God, you gotta look good, is that it?
No, it's because of Nida. So the stains are reflective of the state of Nida that the Shekhinah is in with Hashem. So when Hashem and Shekhinah are together and intimate, all Shefa comes down to the world, and then all the Jews are wealthy and healthy, happy, joyful, and then that pours down from the Jews to the rest of the world. But what causes all illness and poverty and all of these things? It's that Hashem and the Shekhinah are not together. Why aren't they together? Because the Shekhinah, like the woman, can go into a state of Nida. What causes Nida, or that stain of blood? It comes from our Averot. So when you have a stain in your shirt and you don't take care of it, it's an indication that there's a separation between Hashem and the Shekhinah.
Even if I'm a messy eater?
What?
Even if I'm a messy
So then you need to work on it. It's like, I'm not doing that.
Some people are just messy.
Okay, so work on it. I'm also messy. Work on it.
My situation, every Shabbat, I put on something straight from the dry cleaner. And after Shabbat, I have to take it back to the dry cleaner.
No, I'm not talking about
Shabbat.
It's normal. It's good. Yeah. It's fun. You're taking care of it. But there are some people, they don't take it to the dry cleaner. They just wear it every day with stains all over their shit. It's like, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, you get a stain while you're eating.
Yeah, so you're... No.
Eventually you gotta clean it.
Yeah, just clean it. Every day, put it on
The
a...
stain doesn't go off. Garbage.
Yeah, you can't wear a shirt.
I heard once that a doesn't happen to
So you heard that probably from somebody who's trying to do kiruv on you and he wants you to feel better about yourself. And you're, what?
Can you donate those clothing that you have stains in?
I don't know. The Zohar, the reason he's bringing this, because he says that the Zohar brings down that when there's stains in your clothing, you bring a separation between Hashem and the Shekhinah. Okay. So now, what causes those stains? It's specifically, not physically, but spiritually. What causes the Shekhinah to go into Nidah? It's not when you don't do a positive mitzvah. It's when you're over on a negative mitzvah. So one of the 365 negative mitzvot, when you are over on those, meaning you engage in one, you're not supposed to eat the gidanashe, you make your shishlik and you eat it by accident. So that causes a stain, or it causes the Shekhinah to go into Nidah. And then there's a separation, and that's where suffering comes from in the world. Okay. How do you fix that? So Rav Nachman says it's much harder than the rabbis make it seem, that you do tshuva and you're good. He says that you need to know what you're doing tshuva on in order to do complete tshuva. And he says that it's impossible to know what you're doing tshuva on because all of the mitzvot are so complex, there's so many intricacies and fine points, that the chances are you're not going to know all of the things that you are transgressing. So then Rav Nachman says, how do you do tshuva on all these things? Get the stains out of your clothing, you have da'at in your speech, and all your prayers get answered. That's the Torah so far. So he says, Tikkun Klali. Why does Tikkun Klali help this? Because he says that in reality, wasting seed is the greatest avera, not from the point of perspective of punishment, per se, but in terms of what it does spiritually. Because spiritually, all averot affect this lowest aspect of reality called malchut. But the avera of wasting seed affects a higher place called Zer Enpin, which actually encompasses everything in the world. So it's a much higher place, and therefore when that is affected in a negative way, it causes more destruction. It's all. So this Tiferet is Zer Enpin, but it includes all 6 of these Sfirot. And we know that Yesod gives over what's above it, these 6. So if there's a blemish in the Brit, so then none of the Shefa comes down the pipe. Now with the other Avera, let's say you eat the Gidanashe, it's not allowed, you're not affecting the Shefa that's coming down, you're affecting the receiving of it at Malchut, which is an easier blemish to fix. Because at a lower level. So Rav Nachman teaches though, that even though to waste seed is a more serious issue because of this, on the other hand, there's a blessing in disguise, which is that because the Brit is affecting a higher level, we learn spiritually that everything below is encompassed in above. Whatever is below is always in the thing that's above it. So I gave the example that, like, let's say Hod. Within Hod you have Yesod and Malchut. It's in Hod. Let's say within Chesed you have all the Sfirot below it are within Chesed as well, besides the fact that they're all separate. So therefore, if you make a change in Chesed, it then pours out into the rest of them. But if you make a change to Malchut, only Malchut is affected. Right. So therefore, because the Brit is like the all-encompassing issue, Therefore, it's the all-encompassing solution. And if you fix the Brit, then everything gets fixed along with it. So you don't need to know all the things that you need to do tshuva for. You don't get in this predicament because when you fix the Brit, you fix all of it. And you do that through Tikkun HaKlali. Okay?
How often you say Tikkun HaKlali?
So his original suggestion was whenever you waste seed, whether purposely or accidentally, you say Tikkun HaKlali and
After relations of persons, you say Tikkun HaKlali?
no.
What if you just say prophylactically every day?
If you can explain what that word means to me, I'll give you the answer.
Regularly.
Just regularly.
If you will.
If you will. Are you sure prophylactically means that? I'm pretty sure it's what they like a doctor's term when they get into your backside. No, it's
That's what it means.
not.
Yeah, in Russian it's simple.
I got it.
Consistent.
I
didn't hear that.
Like you just read it every day. You
Yeah.
make it your thing to read it every day.
It's good. You should read it every day. If you could. If you want to and you have time, you should read it every day. Because it's taking care of all of your Avera. It's doing tshuva for all the
See,
Avera.
Tehillim you cannot say at sunset, right? This is the process to
We spoke about it last night. It's better to do it during the day.
I asked Tikkun HaKlali better not to do it at night.
It's according to Abraham, he heard from somebody because it's like a different category. You can do it at night as well. It's fine. But the basic halacha, I posted. I don't know if you got to check it. According to Rav Vadi Yosef, you should not be reading Tehillim at night. Even let's say somebody's sick, you should read a piece of Torah for them instead and do it in their schut until chatzot. Then at midnight you can say Tehillim for them.
Midnight?
Yeah.
So wait, midnight
only
means
the-
3 o'clock in the morning?
No, 12. Like it's around
Well,
12.
that's for us. 12 is
Like around 12:45
like
probably.
No, it always
12
changes.
is
It always changes. It's like anywhere
It's
between.
11:42 today. Yeah.
Yeah.
11:42 today.
So in reality,
How do you know this?
you look online and look for chatzot.
KLJ.
From what time to
On
what time?
everything.
Can you send it, please?
What time does it start until what's up?
It starts from Tzeit HaKochavim when the 3 stars are out and it gets dark. I'm telling you what nighttime is.
Okay.
Tzeit HaKochavim, it means 3 stars are out.
So I'm good if I, let's say I
Before
get home.
chatzot, before
Wait.
Tzeit HaKochavim and after chatzot. So it's not that long of a period.
So let's say we finish the class, go home, like around 11:30
Whatever-
to 12. Is that okay?
It's not about 11:30, 12. It's whenever chatzot kicks in. If it's 11,
Just get the app.
You always send.
yeah, you have to get an app.
Right now it's early, 11:42.
So 11:42. As soon as it turns 11:42, you can open up this Tehillim and just read through the pasuk
And the Torah,
and the Torah.
no problem.
And again, there's no issue with learning Torah. The issue is reciting pasukim. So if you take Tehillim and you're learning about Tehillim, meaning you're reading a commentary that's explaining the lines, it's okay to say the lines there, because that's learning. Learning is always good. But the reciting of pasukim you're only supposed to do during the day for Kabbalistic reasons. And this is brought down in halakha. It's not just the Kabbalistic thing.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Now, what happens that Tikkun HaKlali is so effective, besides what I just said? The answer is because there's different names of HaShem that are linked to the different Sfirot. The one that has to do with the Brit is called Shin Dal Yud. So one of the reasons for this name is that we said before it means yesh dai, there's enough, right? We're trying to eliminate excess from our life, and therefore when we say no to something physical, we are also drawing down shakai, right? Which is the giver of blessing. That's yesod. But
But it says Shaddai.
what?
Shaddai.
Shin Dal Yud.
So you read the Shakai just to cover the.
I'm not supposed to say. It's like saying
Oh, I guess it.
it's better just not to say it like the
Okay.
yeah.
Saying God's name in vain.
Yeah. Unless you say it like within a
But he's
pasuk.
teaching. It's
Yeah.
not in vain.
Yeah.
Okay, relax.
Alright.
It's like if you said it within a pasuk, it's also fine. Like if I said a whole pasuk right now and it was in there, it's good. But if I just say the name, it's better not to.
Okay.
Like Kale, you say Kale instead of, you know. Okay, got it. So now, Shakai also comes from the word Shadeh, which means to throw
Ooh, no problem.
or to shoot. So the Yesod, just like the Yesod, right, shoots out semen, so too Shakai shoots out Tikkunim. So when you do Tikkun HaKlali and you fix the Yesod, then those tikkunim go into all of those little cracks, meaning all of those little averot that you don't even know that you're doing them, and you don't know how to fix them, and you can't even do tshuva on them because you don't know about them. It fixes all of those things. Tikkun HaKlali.
So is that what we should have in mind when we do it?
What's that?
What should be kavanah?
The kavanah should be, I'm trying to do complete tshuva on all my averot, and I know that by taking care of the Brit, all of the mitzvot are included in the Brit, and therefore it fixes all of it. And you see it within the word Brit itself, which has a gematria of 612. You add the word itself, it's 613. So the word Brit actually is the 613 mitzvot. Okay, so I want to say something. Interestingly, you see when Moshe was asked to be the Mashiach for the Jewish people originally, he said, I can't speak. He didn't say I can't talk. He said I have a speech impediment. Meaning what? He didn't feel he was advanced enough in the area of the Brit that he should be able to be the spokesman for the Jewish people, that they should listen to him. Yeah? But then later on, when he separates from his wife, and he's just like completely separated from the world, and now he's saving the Jewish people, and right before we received the Torah, what did he do? He separated all the Jews from their lives for 3 days, right? Because he was rectifying everybody's Brit before Har Sinai. Because what did he say? You can only draw down Da'at when your Brit is good. You understand? The whole redemption is coming from Da'at. That's why when Mashiach comes, Da'at is going to cover the world like water covers the sea. Moshe says, I'm not going to be able to speak. Meaning, I don't have the level of Da'at that comes from Shmirat the Brit necessary. So I can't bring it down to them. But when he was holding by it and he brought everybody else there, Matan Torah is the concept of the revelation of Da'at in the world, which allows all speech to be heard. Right? You got it?
Say it again.
Okay. We're saying from the beginning, speech is only heard when there's good in it. What's the good in it? It's Da'at. What was the greatest revelation of Da'at in history? Matan Torah. How did that happen? It needed to be preceded by Moshe being separated from his wife, followed by him encouraging the Jewish people to do that for 3 days as well. Now, why did they listen to him? Because he himself was Shmirat HaBrit, and therefore his words were being heard. And then we all got Da'at.
His words were only heard because they had a vessel to receive it.
So that's part of it, but the main thing is that Moshe himself was holding at that level. Okay.
Interesting. During Nida,
Now I want to say,
connect to his wife on a higher level than actually being with her.
one second. And now I want to say something else. You'll notice something interesting. Prior to Moshe taking us out of Egypt, right? Taking us out of Egypt is the place of constrictions. So meaning, what is Egypt? It's all those tiny little averot that are keeping us enslaved. Mitzrayim comes from the word Meitzar, which means a constriction. Rav Nachman says when you do Tikkun HaKlali, you get into all those constrictions and fix them. That's like Moshe taking them out of Egypt. But when was Moshe able to take them out of Egypt? Only when he first picked up Yosef's bones. Yosef is the tzaddik, right? Meaning, he became like Mashiach ben Yosef. He picked up Yosef's bones and he took them out. Meaning, he became the epitome of Tikkun HaBrit. Then, only then, he was able to take us through the ocean. And the sages actually say, Chazal say, and who's married to the ocean split? Yosef.
Midrash.
Yeah, the Midrash says it. And what's the ocean? The ocean is Da'at. Water is always Da'at. So the ocean split for them. Meaning they had a gigantic revelation of godliness. Why? Because of Yosef, because of the tzaddik, because of the Brit.
Did he rise from the water?
I don't know. You might have seen this in the National Geographic.
I think even the Zohar says that he had to throw something, say Ale Shore, and it rose.
Oh, I heard about that, but I don't think he himself rose. I haven't heard about it.
No, I'm talking about his coffin.
Oh yeah, the coffin. Yeah, something like
in
this.
the Nile River.
Yeah,
Buried in first of the Nile.
yeah. I heard
How did
something.
Moshe get it out? He said something. He threw something.
I don't know. Probably Shem Hashem.
They use the same thing for the eagle, right?
Okay, so now listen to what he says now. There's a pasuk, it says, like a nesher, like an eagle, arouses its cane, meaning arouses its nest, hovering over its gazelle, the young. So now listen to what Rav Nachman says. He says, this whiteness that comes through the Brit, the pure whiteness when you're Shmirat HaBrit that comes out, is actually from your mind. Okay? It's pieces of your mind, so to speak. So therefore, when you waste seed, you're wasting your mind. And that's why it's such a severe avera. I'll just tell you on a very personal note that I did notice, like even before I read this Torah, that while I was wasting seed all the time, it usually came out clear. And
You got a problem.
and afterwards, like when I became Shmirat HaBrit, it was always white.
How'd you know that? If you were Shmirat HaBrit?
That's a good question. Just take my word for it.
I ain't taking nothing.
Take my word for it. Anyway, it comes from your mind. Okay? It's the whiteness from your mind. Now, this whiteness, where is it drawn from? We talk about this in Shir. Too much information? Okay. I'm so confused. Okay. In Shir Shirim,
Yeah,
right?
I think.
What does the Pasuk say? The Pasuk says... Okay. Everybody come back.
Yeah, I should just do this video again. No?
Okay, no, it's okay.
I want the whole world to know.
Yeah, we'll cut it out. Okay, Robert's uncomfortable. He left the class.
He said, I'm gonna go check.
Yeah, he's stretching out. Okay. So this whiteness that's drawn from the mind, it comes from the Pasuk, V'nozlin min Lebanon. It says in the times of Mashiach that whiteness is going to flow out from Lebanon. Now you'll notice the word Lebanon comes from the root Levan, which means white. And what is Lebanon? So according to Kabbalah, Lebanon is a code word for Da'at. Because Lebanon is the Beit HaMikdash. So whiteness coming from Lebanon, meaning there's going to be Da'at revealed from the mind when Mashiach comes. Everybody with me?
Yeah.
Okay.
So with you.
It comes from the Tikkun, though, of the Giddim, meaning through Tikkun Klali, you rectify your Brit, and when the Brit is rectified, then whiteness is able to draw down from the mind, and that's Da'at, and that now enters your speech. Okay? So this all starts how like a nesher arousing its ken. The nesher is the tzaddik, the nesher is the Brit, right? We said that the eagle, the nesher, and the gematria for Yoshua ben Nun is the same, because Yoshua ben Nun is Mashiach ben Yosef. So he's the tzaddik, he's the one who rectifies the Brit. That's the reason why Yoshua is the one who battles Amalek while Moshe is praying. Right? Because he's Mashiach ben Yosef in that situation. He's the warrior who destroys Amalek, who is the concept of Pagama Brit. And then you have Moshe who's praying, because in that case he's like Mashiach ben David. Right? And you have them working in tandem together. Okay. So therefore it says that the eagle comes and arouses its cane, meaning its nest. But we know the word cane is similar to the word kaneh, to acquire. And we know there's no acquisition except for Chochmah and Bina. Meaning that the Nesher or the Tzaddik, or by being Shmirat HaBrit, you arouse your cane, meaning your mind, and then hovering over its gozel. So what is that?
Wow, so they named him Kain because we acquired.
Wait. Okay. Okay. What is hovering over its gozel? Meaning he hovers over and protects the mind, which at first were nigzalim, meaning stolen. It was stolen through being Pagama Brit. Because of being Pagama Brit, now your seed is being wasted, therefore the young are being stolen from the nest. You hear the whole connection? Okay. Okay. There's a pasuk, it says, like a nesher, an eagle is arousing its cane, meaning its nest, hovering over its young, its gozel. So we know the nesher is the tzaddik. Not just the tzaddik, meaning the one we're connecting to, but the tzaddik within you, meaning when you attain the level of Shmirat HaBrit. When you become Shmirat HaBrit, it arouses your cane, meaning not your nest, your mind. And when your mind is aroused, you're hovering over the gozel, meaning you're able to draw back what was gazlim, what was stolen, from when you were Pagama Brit before, which is your mind. And your mind is what's necessary for your prayers to get answered. We need your prayers to get answered. Why I say in the beginning of the class, what allows your prayers to get answered is the good. The good is your da'at, which is your mind. But there is a bridge between your mind and your speech, and that is your brit. So when the brit is pagam, you're not able to draw da'at into your speech. That's why being shmirat the brit is what allows your prayers to get answered. And that's also why you'll notice that when people are unable to speak when they do hipodadut, part of the reason is because they're pagama brit. If they're sitting there and they have nothing to say, part of the reason is because in some way they're pagama brit, and therefore they're not able to arouse da'at in their mind to be able to speak over.
So what is it, like a mental block?
Yes, it feels like a
So to
mental.
speak, like you're cut off?
Yes.
Yeah, because your brain, quote unquote, left you.
It's like a mental and spiritual...
We want a harmony, a synergy, and that's what the Brit is. The Brit represents shalom between the mind and speech. Right? So we get that through Shmirat the Brit.
You're messing up,
You're messing up everything. Everything. Okay. Baruch Hashem. That's why it says the infant nourishes from the shaddai of his mother, meaning the breast of his mother. The infant alludes to, in the Torah, constricted consciousness. Meaning, when you're pagama brit, then your mind becomes constricted. Your da'at becomes constricted. But then, once he does tikkun brit, he turns all of the blood, meaning all of the stains, meaning the blood in his mother's breast, it then turns into milk. Right? Because the Gemara says that the blood is decomposed and turns into milk. That's what they're suckling on. And for us, what does it mean spiritually? It means that we have achieved the level that the stains are being transformed into whiteness, meaning da'at.
No mother can feed him other than Moses.
Right. Yes, because he was born with the Brit.
So white is good?
White is good. Please do not get me in trouble for that. I don't mean skin color.
It's a really awkward tour to have.
Yeah, yeah, I know, that was so funny. I said, Rav Nachman says you have to whiten the blood. And we had there was one time, yeah. I was like, please don't kill me. Okay. So through Tikkun Brit, you then are raised up from your infant-like mind that comes from your blemish of the Brit, and then you come to a composed, settled mind that comes from Shalom, that comes from Shmirat HaBrit, and then you're able to pray in a way that gets answered.
Oh, that's what baby every time he cries, he gets what he wants.
Yeah, that's why Yosef's name is Yosef. Why? Because he gathers. He's gathering all the tikkunim, meaning he's gathering all the rectifications. So in our Torah, Yosef is the tikkun klali, meaning I'm tapping into Yosef, I'm tapping into the gathering of all the tikkunim and fixing everything. This is the essence of Israel's coming closer to Hashem. It's through the tikkun brit. When I spoke to Gedalia Fenster,
You're right there.
I know you guys get excited when I speak about it. When you talk to Gedalia Fenster, when I was in Uman, he stayed in my hotel. So we just chatted it up, not a big deal, had a cup of coffee, kicked it back, you know.
Really?
No, I just spoke to him. He was going to the mikveh like really early in the morning or something. So
Like at what time?
yeah, we schmoozed a little bit, and I was talking about how a lot of my students were starting to do it, and he's like, it's not gonna help if there's not shmir or Brit. I said, I know, we're working on one thing at a time. He goes, just work on the Brit first. Work on the Brit first. So okay.
So he voted it as useless.
No,
It works both ways.
No, it's not.
It's both. Right.
It's not
So
because
that's
that will
my
get
thing.
you to Shimon.
The Hebrew do is what
I'm
fixed
telling you
my
an
brain.
experience.
Right. So
I'm
I don't know.
telling you an
I think
That
he's
will
more of
get
a
you to
linear
it.
thinker.
You know why he says that? Because since he deals with addictions and with mental problems,
Right.
he understands that you have to leave the addictions first in
Right.
order to get closer to Hashem.
I got you. Yeah.
I'm with you.
I mean,
He's also
it only works once you do 1 before.
right. We spoke about that. That's why I work on the Ibodah part. Okay. So now the main thing that brings you this is 29 Kaf Tet. Kaf tet?
Tet.
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 Tet!
I said tet.
No, you didn't.
I said tet. Kaf tet.
Oh, I thought you said
I
hat.
did say it.
Oh, sorry. Forgive me.
Right, that's right. So, kaf tet, the parrot.
Yes.
And what the pasuk?
Dalit.
Got it.
Okay.
תודה רבה.
Bavakasha. So, if you look at the Sfirot, if you think about yourself like Malchut, right? This is us. This is the Jewish people. This is the Jewish people. Look at what I'm going to show you. It's a very important point. We are Malchut, and Hakadosh Baruch Hu is Tiferet in the Sfirot. Yes. No, Keter is like Eke. I'll be what I'll be. It's like the highest level. They're all God. All of these are revelations of God. It's just when we speak about HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that's the concept of Tiferet. Yeah, and that's a lot to do with Shefa. So Rav Nachman says, what connects the Jewish people to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? The Brit. So you have to fix the Brit, because this is why it's called Yosef, because he gathers together the both of them. That's why the tzaddik is sent here to bring together Hashem and the Jewish people. Yes, connects it together. That's why we have this pasuk. It says, "Ve'esa etchem al kanfei nasharim va'avi etchem elai." Very famous pasuk from Shemot. I carried you on the wings of eagles. I think they made a song out of this. And I brought you, and I brought you to me. And I brought you to me. I carried you on the wings of eagles, and I brought you to me. Now we know that the wing, kanef, we learned in another Torah, this has to do with the Brit. And we're not going to get into it now. But the wings has to do with the Brit. And what is, there's no quick fix. And then the eagle is the tzaddik, right? He's the rectification. What does it mean I brought you on the wings of eagles? Meaning the tzaddik fixed everybody's Brit. Therefore I carried you on the wings of eagles. Meaning the eagle, the tzaddik, rectified everybody's kanef, their Brit. Therefore I was able to bring you all close to me. It's a formula for how one gets close to Hashem. Everybody with me? So the Nishra, who is the eagle for us? Who is the tzaddik that fixes our kanef, our wings, so that we're able to fly to Hashem? It is the Tikkun HaKlali. By doing the Tikkun HaKlali, that's your eagle, that's your nesher. Benny, you understand? Stop talking to each other. The nesher is the tzaddik. In our case, what's the benefit of the tzaddik? He brings you close to Hashem. Why is he doing that? Because he's rectifying your Brit. What rectifies your Brit? The Tikkun HaKlali. So in this case, when we're saying that they're on the wings of eagles, meaning through the Tikkun HaKlali, your wing is fixed. And now you're able to be close to Hashem and fly to Hashem. Okay. He really does. That's what it means, I brought you to me. Meaning now I can bring you to me, now that your wings are fixed. Okay. So now listen to this next part. You ready? I'm going to have to drink a little bit of Coke for this.
Black stuff.
What is all your racist...
The white is on the top. The white on the top. And then this one.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'akol niyah b'doro. And your guys' favorite topic, are you ready?
I love it.
Uvazeh talui. And Avram, we're starting 5.
Hey.
Now we're starting 5.
Torah 5?
No.
Yeah, I know.
You're good. Okay. Everybody quiet, okay? We're wasting too much time. Uvazeh. When you have fixed the Brit, Uvazeh talui parnasa bli Torah. Ooh. Earning your livelihood without struggle is dependent on fixing the Brit, meaning Tikkun HaKlali. Why? Because this is the aspect of lechem min shemayim. This whole concept of bread from heaven is the concept of parnasa coming easily to you. Ayinu ayadu Tikkun HaKlali, meaning through Tikkun HaKlali, Shu Tikkun Brit, which is the Tikkun of the Brit. Then you get Derech HaNesher b'Shemayim. The way of the eagle is in Shemayim. Shemayim is always the concept of easy parnasa. The Nesher is the tzaddik, the fixing of the Brit. Meaning, what's the way of the eagle? Holy shit! The way of the Nesher, meaning the way when you fix your Brit, the way is Shemayim, meaning now you get everything easily. Don't worry about it. Everybody just stay with me. It's saying Derech Nesher, meaning the way of fixing the Brit. Once the Brit is fixed, Shemayim. Shemayim is the concept of Lechem Shemayim, bread comes down from heaven easily. This is the meaning of the Haman Kizra Gadu. It says in Bamidbar about the man that was like a seed of God. Not God. Not God, but God.
God, good,
Yeah. good. Like coriander seed. It's a type of seed. They were trying to explain what is this man, what does it look like. So in Bamidbar, in Numbers, it says that it looks like a coriander seed. It's a type of seed that you plant. So what is the deeper understanding? The seed is your mind. That's the seed. Yes, consciousness. That's why it had no form. What?
Your mind is
Reading a piece of his mind.
your mind is creating the
They were eating revelations of godliness. That was the man. And it was like seed, meaning it was like Hashem's seed. That's why it was in the shape of seed. And where do you see this? From the word God is actually like the word Gid. Gid. Like Gid and Asher.
Gid.
And we learned before that the sages say about your male body part, it's called Gid. It's another name for it. Meaning it's shaped like a Gid, that's what we were eating. It was like Shefa from Hashem.
But the Torah doesn't say, correct me if I'm wrong, the Torah doesn't say that it was like a cake, like a sweet cake.
It was cake?
Like a sweet cake. It was like
It tasted like that. It didn't look like a sweet cake. It looked like seed.
where does it say that it looked like
The
seed?
pasuk. It says
That's from the Torah.
Gadu. Yeah, it's a pasuk from the Torah.
What is it?
It's in Numbers 11:7. You look it up after.
Okay.
You can do that as long as you look at the commentary.
it's a prohibited wash.
Okay, guys, everybody focus. Why? Because the seed of a coriander seed, this God, is a white drop. It looks like a white drop. Yeah.
Grain.
Yes, grains. This is the aspect that we're waiting for a Mashiach flowing from Lebanon, meaning the mind. What's flowing from the mind? Shefa. Because this is the concept of Tikkun Brit. And upon this is all livelihood without struggle dependent on, which is man. The whole concept of man is you get it easily. When do you get your man easily? When do you make money easily? Through Tikkun Brit. And how do you have Tikkun Brit? Through Tikkun Klali.
This is what it looked like?
That's what the Torah says.
Let me see.
It's always usually in pickle.
Yeah, it's usually in pickles and stuff like that.
Mine.
Okay, so now listen to what it says. Everybody off their phones, please. Everybody off your phones, if you can. But when you have livelihood, which is earned with struggle, guys.
I'm tripping.
Okay. But a livelihood. But a livelihood which is earned with struggle and difficulty is the result of one's not having done Tikkun Klali, the rectification of the Brit. This is because one who throws away crumbs, the Zohar says, poverty pursues him. Crumbs of bread. This is why all the Sephardim put their crumbs in a bag, where we spoke about this. But then the Zohar goes to say, all the more so, someone who throws away crumbs of his mind. Meaning wasting seed. This is the meaning of the pasuk. It says, you shall not eat on blood. Okay, this is actually where we derive the halacha that you're not supposed to eat before you pray in the morning. It comes from here. That is because of the bloods of menstruation, meaning nida that you cause through your wasting of seed. don't eat on the blood, meaning don't pray when you don't have da'at because you're blemished in the brit. Yeah? That's why the sages said, don't eat before you come, because that eating is connected to blood, meaning you're creating nida. Sorry? So many. Okay. Why?
What was the joke?
Don't worry about it. You're better off not knowing. Okay. So the pasuk says like this. Everybody focus. Everybody focus. Levi, quick. Come on. So we said like this. When you have done tikkun klali and you fix the brit, you make parnasa easily. But when you're toiling for parnasa and it's difficult, why is that? Because you're pagama brit. This is what he says. So he says, this is the reason why the pasuk says, you shall not eat on blood, you shall not nachashu, you should not act on the basis of omens, right? Like the Bukharians all into. You shall not onenu, you should not omens. Yeah. You shall not act on the basis of auspicious times, meaning you shouldn't do, this is a good time to do this because this is right? You should have simple faith in Hashem. Be simple, okay? That's what the pasuk is saying. So now Rav Nachman is going to connect this to all the things that we learned already, which is, you shall not eat on blood, meaning you shouldn't cause blood to be found within the Shekhinah through your averot, meaning through blemishing the brit. That's you shall not eat on the blood. Therefore, as a result, then your livelihood will be a struggle. That's the blemish of the garments. Then you shall not eat on the basis of omens. What is the word for omens? It's nachashu, meaning you shall not arouse the nachash. What do we say about the nachash? The nachash takes Chava away from Adam and then he infiltrates her. So Chava represents the Shekhinah, meaning he makes her bloody. How does the nachash have access to her? Only after Adam is Pagama Brit. Through Adam's Pagama Brit, meaning through our Pagama Brit, then the nachash has Chava, meaning the Shekhinah, because she becomes vulnerable now. Is everybody with me? Okay, but is everybody else with me? Okay. We're saying we want our prayers to get answered. That's the concept of Chava. However, when Chava, that only works when Chava is with Adam. Adam is the concept of the mind. Chava is speech. When they're together, all prayers are answered. Like what happened when they were created? They said they prayed to Hashem and then rain came down. They prayed. That's the whole goal. But what happened with the Nachash? Once they separated, meaning speech separated from mind. Why? Because there was Pagama Brit. So then as a result of that, the Nachash then was able to be with Chava. Okay? That's the meaning of you shall not nachashu, meaning do not, God forbid, bring the Nachash to Chava, to your speech, to pollute her so that your speech is not heard. Okay? And then it says, and she'll not onenu, meaning this is the connotation of time. Remember we said before that Shlomo Melech said that there's 28 types of times. There's 14 good times and 14 bad times. So we explained that a good time is when the Jewish people are doing what Hashem wants, and therefore Shefa is coming down easy, Parnas is coming easily. That's a good time. That's what we should be trying to do. A bad time is when we are separating Hashem from the Shekhinah by being Pagama Brit. So that's, do not read into times, meaning make it a good time, not a bad time. This was Yaakov's request. What did Yaakov say when he was leaving, going to Lavan's house from his family's house and he was running away from Esav? What did he say to Hashem? Hashem said, I got you, don't worry. So then Yaakov says something very bizarre. He responds, V'natan li lechem. If you give me lechem, lechol, to eat, beged lilbosh, and clothes to wear. Then I'm going to do this whole thing. You give me food to eat and clothes to wear and I'm good. Until then, I'm not going to go. But if you give me clothes to wear and food to eat, I'm going to go. Why? Because bread to eat means easy parnasa. And clothes that are clean mean shmira to bread. And they're dependent on one another. Meaning, he had no sins. That was the clothes he was asking for. No, it's not.
Why is that?
No, because it's trying. Yaakov is bringing. Rav Nachman is bringing Yaakov's pasuk to establish a completely symbiotic relationship between having clean clothes and making money easily. Because the clean clothes is symbolic of you have done tshuva on all of your averot, and you fix that through tikkun klali. So that's having clean clothes, right? And then as a result of that, I'll have bread to eat. Meaning, man. I'm going to get parnasa from Shemayim easily.
When he deceived his father in terms of getting the bracha for the firstborn, what clothes did he put on himself?
That's for another time.
When he asked for new clothes, and then when Esau was after him, he was naked. He took all his old garments away, and he got brand new garments.
Okay, very good.
Maybe
Did
he
we
got
go
a
over
hat
this or
until-
something?
No. So now it says in Yeshaya, speaking about the future, to eat to satiation and for majestic clothing. So you have another pasuk in the Torah where you have this connection between good food, meaning money's coming easily, and clothing, which is clean and beautiful, which means there's no averot. Tikkun klali. So he's saying, Yeshaya, at the end, that we're going to be able to eat to satiation, meaning we're going to be wealthy with no work. And why is that? Because we're going to have majestic clothing, meaning no spots, no stains that come from Pagama Brit.
You gotta make a line.
Now, Yaakov, you'll notice when he was with Lavan screwed him over and over again, so his parnasa was not coming easily. But at the very end, when Yaakov was leaving, what did he do? It says that he took the white layer from all of those sticks. Remember? He was like peeling sticks or something like that, and he removed the layers, and and the pasuk says machshof alavan. He got the white layer. So Rav Nachman is saying, what does it mean? It means tikkun klali. He was rectifying the brit, and therefore he got the whiteness. And as a result of the whiteness, he left there with many herds. Right? He left there wealthy. He left there wealthy. And that's why Reuven comes from the first of my manhood. Right? The first of my manhood. How did he get that? Because he was described as a tent dweller.
Ooh, the tent dweller is the one who hoses.
Yeah. Right. The tent, he's like, how did you get that?
I'm like,
Okay. Meaning what? Because Yaakov was Shmirat Brit, that was the whole reason he got to learn from Shem and Aver. Right? We said Da'at comes from Shmirat Brit. Why was Yaakov learning there? Nobody else is learning in that little academy that we learned about for so long. He got to learn there for 13 years because he wasn't wasting seed. He was pure. Whatever, 14 years. Okay. So then once he derived Da'at, he was able to get his parnasa easily. So we see...
All this time Lavan wasn't paying him his wages.
And that's why Yaakov, and this is the big chiddush about the Jew, he can be a tent dweller and still make money, right? Meaning he's learning, and yet he's still making money easily.
Yeah, but how do you make money?
Right, so that's what it means, that we are tent dwellers. It means like Yaakov, because we're Shmirat Brit, we're able to dwell in the academy of Shem and Aver and still make our parnasa.
I want to be a tent dweller.
That's why the pasuk in Yeshaya says he spreads the heavens out like a tent to dwell in, meaning Shepherd is going to come from Shemayim easily for us. Okay?
Oh, and Avram's tent was open in all 4 angles, meaning Shepherd comes from all sides. Yeah, it was also Shmiras Brit in this case.
Of course, they all were.
They all were tent dwellers.
Okay.
And they were open in all areas. I'm a tent dweller too.
Okay. Now listen to this next part. We're now on Vav. But as long as you have not done Tikkun Klali, listen, Benny, off the phone. But as long as you have not done Tikkun Klali, then the Shekhinah is in a state of Nida, and then your speech is ineffective. Benny. I know, but you're distracting everybody over here. Go on. Okay. As long as you have not done Tikkun Klali, meaning you're still Pagama Brit, meaning that maybe you're not even doing it anymore, you're not even wasting seed, but you never fixed it because you didn't do Tikkun Klali. So now by doing Tikkun Klali, you fix the Brit, and as a result of that, your speech is heard. But Rav Nachman says that as long as it's not, your speech is forbidden. Like David HaMelech says in Tehillim, I became mute with Damiyah. Damiyah means silence, but it comes from the word meaning blood. Meaning, why was I silent? Because I had stains in my clothes. Why did I have stains in my clothes? Because I was Pagama Brit.
David said that?
Yes.
Which pasuk?
It's in Tehillim.
Which one?
It's in 39. He says, Na'lamti Dumia. I became mute. right? Dumya comes from the word dam, though, meaning Rav Nachman is trying to point out when there is a state of blood, when there's a stain, meaning the Shekhinah is in Nidah, so now David becomes silent. He can't speak. Because David represents speech. He represents the Shekhinah. He can't speak. So therefore, Shefa can't come down. This is the essence of speech, is dependent on Tikkun HaKlali. This is what Rav Nachman says. That's why it says, V'yaged lechem et brito. He announced to you his covenant. He spoke it to you. Because the Brit and speech are completely interrelated. And just in a very simple level, Malchut is speech, Yesod is Tikkun HaBrit. So when you have Tikkun HaBrit, you have perfected speech. Right? They're going together. That's why Yipodu, which is Malchut, fixes Yesod, and why Yesod, meaning Shvat Brit, fixes and gets your prayers answered.
Yipodu is a mechanism for you to know if your Yesod is on point or not.
Yeah, for sure. That's part of the Hesper Nefesh you're supposed to be doing every day. The Brit. Are you holding by the Brit?
So to the degree you're holding by the Brit, to that degree you speak to Hashem.
To that degree your speech is heard.
So does it matter on how long and how much you speak to Hashem?
Yeah.
It does not matter.
It matters if you're good in that area.
Because it seems to me that if you're holding on 100% of the 100% of the Brit,
Yeah.
you would talk to Hashem 100% of the time.
Yeah, you definitely for sure you'll be more inclined to speak to Hashem more. That's what you mean?
Yeah.
Yes. The answer is yes.
Like a 24/7 hit type of thing.
Maybe. Okay. Now this is what they said about after Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai died. Each person would say to his fellow, "Do not let your mouth cause your flesh to sin." This is because Rabbi Shimon is the bow of the covenant, meaning he was the tzaddik. You'll notice that the rainbow is an upside down arrow. Sorry, upside down bow. Why? Meaning, what did we say before? The Tikkun HaKlali shoots arrows into all of those small areas. Now, what happens when the Jewish people are Pagama Brit? Not just in this area, but meaning the Torah. So then we need the rainbow to save us. Meaning the Tikkun of Brit.
Covenant from Hashem that I will destroy the world because of the Brit.
Yes.
Because that's why Hashem made the flood.
But it said that when Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was alive, that was one of the 2 generations in history that there was not a rainbow in that generation. Because he was the rainbow. Tricks are for kids, guys.
Silly rabbit. Get it? He was a white rabbit.
Okay.
No, the rainbow is the.
He like chunk. Okay. And when the tikkun is lacking, meaning when you're not doing tikkun HaKlali, then speech becomes forbidden. Like David HaMelech says, I became mute with silence, and do not let your mouth. Okay? Now, they say here also that this is a very big issue amongst teachers and rabbis. Yes, because they're teaching Torah, so they're giving over da'at. So when they're Pagama Brit, so it's considered like they're revealing secrets that they're not supposed to be, like they're not holding by because their speech is blemished, and then you become blemished to the Torah that you learned from.
Also, they're negatively affecting you.
Yeah, they're negatively affecting you.
Is
Yeah.
there any way you can hear stuff from?
Yeah. Didn't your mama tell you that when you were a little kid?
Mom just told my son.
Is
that
there a way to know?
Okay.
You just have to pray to Hashem and just say, Hashem, please help me only learn from people. Yeah, connect me to a holy teacher.
Connecting to teaching who's 100% guarding his.
Yeah.
Who's guarding his.
That's really the whole prayer of connect me to a true tzaddik. That you want that da'at to be coming down completely safe, unfiltered. Yeah.
So you think you're learning Torah, but in reality you're getting screwed.
No, you
Yeah.
are learning Torah. It's just a flawed Torah.
Yeah, it's a broken Torah.
Can't bear fruit from.
Okay, guys, let's move forward a little bit. It says conceptually, Ze bechinat choli nofel. This is the reason for epilepsy. When the blood surges and shoots up to the brain, it puts pressure on the mind. Because the pressure on the mind, the limbs then tremble. And the reason for this is that there's a shmirat, there's a Pagama Brit. And then the brain, which is the commander of the army, meaning the body, when the enemy attacks the commanding officer.
The blood attacks the brain.
Yes, when the blood attacks the brain, meaning the sins attack the brain, or you got it, meaning da'at, and they see that da'at falls to the blood, which it always does because you're blemished in that area, right? Then the whole body starts to spasm out as a result because the limbs are scared because their commanding officer is Donskis.
That just blew my effing mind.
And then the Shekhinah becomes Nofelet. That's why it says that the booth of David is fallen, Nofelet. It's like in an epileptic state. Why? Because the Beit HaMikdash, which is Da'at, has been destroyed. So the Sukkah of David has fallen. Yeah.
Can you repeat the seizure thing?
Okay.
But this really bomb.
Okay, so he's saying that epilepsy is when blood shoots up to the brain, and then the limbs start to like spasm out as a result.
What's wrong with the blood?
So we're saying that blood is the concept of Averot, specifically in the area of the Brit.
As opposed to oxygen.
Yeah, when you're Pagama Brit, you're creating blood instead of the whiteness. We're trying to whiten our blood, so to speak. So when the blood surges to the mind, meaning Da'at, because you're Pagama Brit, now it takes your Da'at from you. It's like wasting seed. And then as a result, what happens is your body experiences that its captain is going under, and it all starts to freak out. That's what I'm not going to
The child is born the same way.
Yeah, there's children that have epilepsy.
Right, so actually when he was giving this Torah, one of his students had just brought his daughter who was epileptic. And while he was teaching this Torah, she was actually cured of epilepsy. Okay? But through Tikkun HaKlali, which arouses the mind and draws whiteness back into the limbs, guys. But when you do Tikkun HaKlali, you draw whiteness into that places, so the blood does not surge up to the mind. And then this is what fixes the state of Nofel, the malady of epilepsy. And then it's no more. And that's what it means, open your mouth and you're able to speak.
So because he did Teshuvah, his child ended up getting cured?
Yes. Then it says, do not go gossiping, do not stand idly over your friend's blood. Your friend alludes to Chochmah and Bina because Kabbalistically they say Chochmah and Bina are always together. That's why when you put on both Rashi and Rabbeinu Tam, which represent the two type of intellects, you're supposed to try and put them on at the same time because they're never supposed to be separated. Okay? Yes.
Why did you send it to the... I got a big one.
No, that's fine. I'm saying when you have the two little ones, you're supposed to do it that they're both on the same time.
You have two big ones.
You're not able to do that. That's why you'll see Kabbalists are like more mafit to get the small ones. But Rav Avadia used to wear them separately. Most people wear them separately. Okay. When they are not silent to prevent them from doing their job by the surge of blood pressure in the mind, okay? So this is all fixed through Tikkun HaKlali. This is all through the fixing of the Brit. Then epilepsy, he says, is also is healed. How many questions do you guys have?
Only 30.
No, seriously, I just want to know if I should move on. Let me say this last part. We'll finish up what we need to know for the Torah, and then we'll move forward. Okay? This is why wine is called tirosh. Tirosh meaning if he's worthy, he becomes rosh. He becomes a mind. But if he's unworthy, he becomes poor. Meaning, in other words, when he's not zacha, meaning zakeh is not purified. When he's not purified from the blood, he becomes poor. Why? Because we're saying that a blemish in the Brit, which arouses blood, right? That's the redness of the wine. It's not good for you when you're Pagama Brit. Then you become poor as a result.
So maybe that was the case.
But if he is zacha, meaning his blood is purified, then he becomes rosh. Like it says that wine is called tirosh. And then the whiteness of the mind is aroused, which is why they say it can arouse your mind when you drink wine. So it's all dependent on if you're pure or not. Okay. The concept of earning, this is the concept of earning a living faithfully, and this is what we're at. Someone who does not earn his living be'emunah and is filled with a craving for money, so that he then steals in business and from his friends X, Y, and Z, he arouses this blood within the Shekhinah and separates the Shekhinah from HaShem. He generates in the Shekhinah the blood of Nidah. And this is the meaning of damim, which implies two. Why is there two? Because the dam of Nidah is the result of mammon, money. This is why stealing is called beget. To be a stealer is called beget, like the garments, the clothes. Because when your clothes are blemished, you crave money. Meaning, when you're pagama brit, you desire money. And as maybe.
I thought a thief is a ganaf.
What? But there's another word for it. Bogdim, like David HaMelech says. Bogdim are thieves. So why are they thieves? Because their beget is not clean, meaning because they are pagama brit, they now crave money. Like Rav Nachman taught elsewhere, something very interesting. It's pretty clear that in the final generation, before Mashiach comes, everybody's going to be obsessed with money. More so than even like in the past. So Rav Nachman says, but it's impossible to rectify this pagam directly, meaning you're not going to help a person realize money is not the most important thing in their life. You can't fix that. The only thing you can do is fix their brit, and through the fixing of the brit, their desire for money will diminish.
So to go attack them and saying that money's not important,
they're not going to hear you
because you're bugging. What are you talking about? Everything goes to money.
Right. They feel that because they're wasting seed. Because wasting of seed means you lose the concept of contentness. Concept of shakai, of the Brit, is yesh dai, I have enough. But when you're wasting seed, you lose that feeling of contentness that I have enough. And you always want more. And this is why...
So in other words, you lose the peace. You lose the shalom.
You lose the shalom, right. You lose the peace, and then you're constantly desiring more and more and more. That's why you see people who get engaged in drugs and all types of physical actions. They crave it more, even though it's not satiating them. Keep looking more and more and more and more. Why? Because they have no shalom. They have no peace. For this is the primary tikkun for earning a living. To keep in mind that the sole purpose of every step you take and every word you speak while you earn a living is to be able to give tzedakah from his earnings. So this is a very fundamental teaching in Rav Nachman's Torah, that when you go to work, your mindset should be, I want to make as much money as possible so I can give the most tzedakah possible. And he says that every word that you say, and every business deal that you make, and every step you should take, this should be in your mind the whole day. I'm doing it for this, I'm doing it for this, I'm doing this. He says this is a gigantic tikkun. He speaks about it in many places in the Torah, that this is one of the great tikkunim that businessmen can do, that people who learn can't do, is this concept of earning business, doing your business honestly, by having in mind, I'm just doing it for tzedakah. Why? Because tzedakah also fixes the Brit. So it's like the tikkun HaKlali. Tzedakah also fixes the Brit, it's like the tikkun HaKlali. And through that, the mind is elevated.
Well, that's not Rav Nachman said, come to me, come to my kever, put tzedakah, tikkun HaKlali, you get it up?
Yes, because by giving tzedakah to the tzaddik, right? So now he's able to arouse da'at in you, which is why people leave Uman feeling high, right? Because they give money, and then they give it to the tzaddik. So that's the nesher, that's the ego. He arouses your mentalities, your mind, on Rosh Hashanah, which is the day of the mind, of the first day of the year, and then they leave there feeling spiritually elevated.
You feel like that?
Yeah, for sure.
I'm still there, baby.
Okay. Any questions? We're going to start a brand new Torah. By the way, just a quick poll. Would anybody be interested in learning tomorrow night, despite the fact that it's Turkey Day? Anybody can make it. Would you be able to come? I just want to make sure. Because I'm trying to figure out if I should teach tomorrow. If it's kedai for me to teach. I am, but maybe I could find a way to be back if I'm going to have guys come.
I'll come for sure.
What? I'm going to be with my family, so I don't know. Maybe.
Sure.
Okay. It's okay if you don't. I understand. Not sure. Might be able to. Possible. Is there any way during the day you guys can give me a definitive answer? In the group,
right now.
If you could just post like I can be there or not, so I know. Can everybody not give me probablys and just? Are you the president of the United States? So just during the day tomorrow, you can just say.